Hi there, this is the Foster Parenting Information Meeting for those who are interested in becoming foster parents or just learning more about foster parenting in the Suncoast region of Florida. We serve residents of Sarasota, Manatee, and DeSoto counties and can help you get started fostering in those counties. So let's get started. Who is the Safe Children Coalition? We are the contract holder to provide child welfare services through the Florida Department of Children and Families, also known as DCF. We're under the leadership of the Sarasota YMCA, so we have that name recognition and the stability that comes with being part of the YMCA. In Florida, we operate under what's called community-based care, and each county has agencies that meet the needs of their community, so we refer to it as our community taking care of our children. It's important to know that children and families have a case within the court system when they come into contact with the Safe Children Coalition as needing foster care services. And like I mentioned, we serve residents of Sarasota, Manatee, and DeSoto counties, and we can help those residents become foster parents. So just some background information for you, how children come into foster care. When an abuse report is filed with the Florida Department of Children and Families, the DCF goes out and investigates in the home, except for in Manatee County where the Sheriff's Department does the investigations and the removals if necessary. At that point, the Safe Children Coalition gets involved, and we provide quite a few services for families, actually a full array of services. We license foster homes. As we mentioned, we also provide placement of children with foster parents, with an appropriate relative or even a non-relative caregiver. An example of a non-relative caregiver would be a teacher that knows the child, a relative, or a friend of the family that knows the child well. We have access to group care homes, or we find other appropriate placement for the child. We also have case management, and what that is as I mentioned, each family has a case within the court system, and the court assigns different tasks that need to be completed to the parents. So throughout the case, there are things that need to be done and services that need to be done for the child as well as for the family, and the case manager handles that. So a foster parent will have a lot of contact with a case manager, with the child's case manager. For children who are teens and above, we also have independent living and extended foster care. In Florida, children can stay in foster care after the age of 18 if they choose. So children can stay in until they are age 21 or in other cases 22 years old. We also have adoption services for those children who are not able to be reunified with their families and need to have another family placement. So moving on, to define foster parenting for you the way we see it at Safe Children Coalition and from the child welfare perspective, foster parenting is temporary care for a child, and that's really how we look at it, with the goal of reunifying the child with either their family or a more permanent placement, and that could be adoption or guardianship. Foster parenting is really important to know that it's not adoption, and it's not an intended path to adoption. In years past, people needed to be a foster parent first before they adopted, and that was a requirement, but that is not the case with our program, and that is not the case these days. So if somebody is looking to add to their family, it is advised that they can go straight to adoption. They do not need to foster first. The real goal of fostering is to reunify the family back together. So if a couple or a family were looking to adopt and to add a child to their family, the way to do that is not necessarily through foster parenting. In fact, 80% of our children are successfully reunified with their families. So the statistics aren't the best that adoption will be the end result of fostering. If someone's interested, if you're listening and you're interested in adoption, you can definitely give a call to the 800 number on the screen and we can assist you if you're in one of our 3 counties that we serve. It's also important to know that fostering is a licensed situation. A license is issued every year by the state of Florida. We assist you with that, and there's no cost for the training or the licensing as well. Foster parenting, as we see it now, is viewed as safe, stable, and a healing situation for the child. So it's a little less of just providing a landing place for a child while their family does their case plan. It's also helping that child to heal from the trauma that they've experienced. And foster parents play a critical part in that, and we see that more and more. So we train our foster parents as professional parents, is what we call it. And we train them in issues of childhood trauma, behavioral issues, ways to meet that child's need where they are at when they come into their home. So we really do see it as a chance to help the entire family heal from whatever neglect, abuse, or trauma they've experienced. What we've got here is some of the basic qualifications to become a foster parent. We look for you to be in a stable place in your life without many changes occurring. Children are often, at home after school hours, so a family needs to be available to take them to soccer practice or take them to doctor's visits or different events like that. So to have the time to take care of a child is probably the biggest priority. That's not to say that you have to be a stay-at-home parent. You absolutely do not. You can work, but really just to be in a stable place in your life. We do a background check for all members of the family in the household. So if you have a family member living with you, say a parent or an aunt or uncle, they will need to be background checked. They do not have to go through the classes or the licensing process. They do just have to go through the background check. Another qualification would be to be in good physical and mental health. We're looking for people who can be active participants. That also doesn't mean that if you have a medical condition that is well under control, that doesn't mean that you can't foster. You absolutely can. Being a foster parent, there's a part of it where we have you fill out some forms, have your doctor fill out some forms. And if you can be cleared as active and your condition is well under control, you can definitely foster. Another qualification is financial stability. There is no income requirement for foster parenting. There's no hard and fast rules. What we do is we ask you to fill out a budget. At the end of the month, if there's money left over for emergencies and you can meet all of your bills, then most likely you will be approved as a foster parent. We also look for homes that are safe with adequate space for a child. Oftentimes, people have children of their own, and so they ask if children can share rooms with a foster child. The answer to that is yes. So same gender children who are under the age of 18 can share a bedroom space. And finally, the basic qualification that we ask for is for you to complete training in a meaningful way, participate, and show interest in the fostering process. There's a lot of myths out there about who can and who cannot foster. So the following list is for Safe Children Coalition and who we can allow to foster. As you can see, we welcome diverse families to our program. We welcome singles, married couples, same gender couples. We also do not have an age limit as far as the upper end. Over the age of 21 can foster. And you do not have to have a religious affiliation. You can, but you don't have to. As far as housing, you can own a home, an apartment. You can be a renter as well. Like I mentioned, so long as your home is safe and there's room for a child, you can definitely foster. We're less interested in the decor of the home than we are in the safety and the appropriateness of the bedroom space for the child. We also have foster parents who work. We have foster parents who stay at home, and some who are even retired. So there's no work requirement so long as you're meeting your bills. You can also be raising children, have an empty nest, or have never raised children. So we're pretty open in that manner as well. So right now, what we are seeing in our 3 counties is a great need for foster parents. We are seeing children coming into foster care mainly due to substance abuse, overwhelmingly due to substance abuse. As you can imagine, they've experienced a good deal of neglect if their parents are using substances, sometimes violence in the home, oftentimes needs are not met, potential abuse as well. We also have a need for homes for children of all ages. So if you feel you could best take infants as a foster, or if you prefer teens, we do allow you to choose the age group that you would most like to foster. We ask you for a range, but do know that you are not tied to that specific age group. So at any time you can make those changes. You can also elect to foster age 0 to 18 if you'd like. One thing to consider is that children typically don't come in as singles. They often come in sibling groups. So if you do have the room and the ability, we would urge you to consider becoming a foster parent to siblings. Keeping brothers and sisters together at this time is really, really critical for their healing. So if at all possible and you can open your home to siblings and keep them together, we would definitely license your home for that. It's important to know that we have children of various levels of need within our foster care community. So Safe Children Coalition licenses families who take the traditional level of child. And as you'll see here, that's a child who has the lowest level of needs, lowest level of care that's needed. There are children who have medical needs, or children who have extensive behavioral needs or mental health needs. And we have foster parents for those types of children. But if you would like to care for children with the lowest level of needs, then Safe Children Coalition would be the correct agency for you. Please don't misunderstand. Know that children who come into foster care have a history of trauma, do have needs, are not your typical child. So don't misunderstand when I say lowest level of need as being average. So they definitely have needs. It's just not reached the level of needing a therapeutic home or even a medical home. So a side note, if you are interested in being a medical foster parent or being a therapeutic foster parent, we can definitely refer you to our partner agencies who do that kind of foster parenting. And they're desperately in need of homes for that as well. So feel free to reach out to us and let us know that that's your interest, and we'll connect you to the right agency. All right, so moving on, just giving you a picture of the children who we serve. Right now in our Tri-County area, we have about 1,200 children who are living in out-of-home care. That means that they've been removed from that initial caregiver and now must live in a foster situation. That's quite a bit of children, considering it's a 3-county area. And we're seeing a surge of children coming in, like I mentioned, due to the substance abuse and the opioid epidemic. Statistically, our children are about 78% Caucasian. That includes Hispanic or Latina children, 22% African American. As far as age-wise, our children are very young. 50% are ages 0 to 5 typically. And then we've got school-aged, and about 20% are teenagers. A small note about that, most of our teenagers do not have foster homes, and we are most in need of homes for teens. So if you feel that that's something that you have the abilities and the skills for, definitely fostering teens is a definite need we have. But like I mentioned before, we do have a need for all age children to have a foster home. So if I were to give you a picture of a verbal picture of what the children are, of who the children are that we serve, I would tell you that their basic needs were not consistently met by their parents. They often had different caregivers. Sometimes a neighbor might care for them, sometimes mom's boyfriend, sometimes grandma might care for them, but typically it was a variety of people in ineffective caregiving. So you can imagine that out of that, we would have some behavioral issues, we'd have some instability, a child who's just really not in a stable place. They oftentimes think that if they want something, they have to get it themselves. So sometimes they're a little more independent, but that's not to say that they function very well when they get their own things. Oftentimes they've had to be a caregiver for their younger sibling. So you may come in contact with a 5-year-old who knows how to make a bottle for a baby, something that children really shouldn't be doing. So foster parents really do give children back their childhood in a lot of ways because they are able to care for both siblings, and the children can just be children. In most cases, children in foster care have delays, multiple delays in learning, in social skills, in behavioral skills. So things like speech, things like schoolwork is oftentimes delayed. Our children are often a little bit smaller in appearance than your average child, and there's just some gaps in their learning and in their development. The good news, however, is that foster parents are really making a difference in the lives of children in foster care. And over again, we hear of foster parents just going the extra mile and really, really making a difference for children. So those delays that they're experiencing really just go away and are handled quite efficiently through having a great foster home. They get clean clothes in a foster home, nutritious meals, the stability that they probably didn't have before, regular dinner time, regular bedroom routine. The foster parent provides a child with attention and support. They anticipate the child's needs and then they meet them, and that's something they may not have experienced before. The extra attention and the support improves a child's development and growth, often improves their grades. And there are ways that we assist with that. So if foster parent's not left alone to provide those treatments, we do have doctors and therapists who can easily help our children. So we're not just looking for any foster home, just a bed and a few meals a day. We're really looking for foster parents who want to actively participate in a child's life. We know some folks work, so meetings and appointments and court, we ask you to participate in that as much as you can. Sometimes just over the phone from work, you can attend a staffing meeting about the child and let the staff know how the child's doing. Also visiting with the case manager on a monthly basis really does help towards the child doing better. We ask that you really accept this child as a part of your family, celebrate their birthdays, their accomplishments, attend their school plays or the muffins with mom or the donuts with dad. Really just accept them as part of your own. One thing that might be a little bit different for some people to understand is about reunification. And reunification is basically what we're looking for is the family to come back together in a healing way. So the child is removed from the parents and they're living with a foster parent, but at the same time, the parent is going through classes about parenting, substance abuse treatment, different things to improve themselves and improve their life. And so our hope is that this family can be reunified back together in a much more healthy and stable manner. And if foster parents have that mindset to work towards reunifying that child back to the family and be very family focused, that tends to work the best for everybody involved. Foster parents are often great role models of parenting for their biological parents. They can often do a lot to strengthen the child bond with their parent that may have been broken by the removal. It's a bit of a co-parenting situation as the case moves along and as the parent becomes more stable and more able to participate in the child's care. So little things like, setting aside the child's schoolwork and showing the parent how well they're doing in school, just talking real positively to the child about their parent, and just really being strengths focused. That goes a long way to reunifying that family back, and it really does improve the relationship between the biological parent and the foster parent. I know that's very different for some people to understand, but as you become a more experienced foster parent, that's something that you'll realize the benefit of. So a lot's been said about what we're asking as a foster parent, but what we'd like you to know is that we offer a lot of support for you to do the best job as a foster parent. So let's take a look at a couple of these. The first one is the training. So the initial training that we ask you to participate in really does give you an idea of what it's like to parent a child who's been through abuse, neglect, and trauma. So we equip you right off the bat with the skills that you need to be a good foster parent. You always have access to a team of professionals. So you will have a licensing specialist. You will have a case manager for the child. You will have a foster parent mentor who is an experienced foster parent who you will be paired with when you are a new foster parent, and you can talk to them about the issues that you're dealing with and get advice from a fellow foster parent. You also have a guardian ad litem who is there through the Guardians program to assist the child with any extra needs they may have. The guardians are the child's voice in the court. You also have, from a financial standpoint, a monthly stipend. This does change yearly, but currently the range is approximately $450 to $550 per month. The higher end would be for the teenagers, and so this is all based on the child's age. For medical expenses, you have Medicaid insurance for the child that covers medical, dental, any kind of therapies that the child may need. It also includes prescriptions. Clothes closets are in each one of our offices, but we also do have a yearly clothing allowance for children in foster care. If you were to get a child sent to you in, let's say, in the middle of the night who had never been in foster care before, you would have access to that clothing allowance where you could go out and purchase new clothes and shoes for the child, because oftentimes they don't come with too much. We also offer a daycare subsidy for our little ones. So there is no cost for that daycare. All you have to do is choose from a list of providers. And if you have a child of that age, the case manager will assist you with that process. But definitely there's no cost to you, and that makes being a working parent and a foster parent very easy. Appreciation and night out events is something that's just a little perk, a little bonus for foster parents. And what this is frequently we have partner agencies, partner volunteer groups who offer foster parents a chance to have a night out while they drop their children, both biological, adopted, or foster. They drop them at a church. The staff serves them dinner. They do an activity, have some playtime, and the foster parents just get a great night out for free so that they can recharge and rebalance themselves. And it's just a wonderful way that our community has come behind foster parents and really recognize the work that they do and the need for respite. Also, there are support groups in every county that we serve. There are foster parent-led support groups, and there are coalition-led support groups where foster parents can get together, share a meal together, have babysitting for the children, and really just share their needs, share their successes as foster parents. But it's so important to have support from other people who are fostering and doing the same work you are. So here I've got a list of some frequently asked questions that people often ask about fostering, and this might be something that's on your mind as well. So I've gathered these together. We'll go through and take a look and see if these answer any questions you might have. So first, can the foster parent select the age and gender of the child they support? And yes, foster parents can specify an age range and a gender. We definitely try to place children within that range in your home, and you have every right to say you will or you will not accept a child into your home. So children aren't just placed without your approval. Secondly, how long will a child stay in my home? And that's kind of a tough question because there's so many factors. So some children only need a short-term care in your home. We may do a search and find a relative that can care for a child, and that may be within the first few days of a child being placed in your home. So that may be just a few day placement, or if the child remains in your home for the length of the case, that can be up to 12 months. So parents are given 12 months to complete the tasks of their case. And so that can be how long a child stays in your home as well. You are not tied to a specific child as far as fostering. So you can choose to end fostering if you feel that that's the time for you to end, regardless of where the case is or is not. We just ask that you give us some notice and help us to transition that child to a new placement. What school or daycare will the child attend? So a child can attend the school that they were at before they were sent to your home, before they were removed, or they can go to the districted school that you are assigned with your home address. So that's your choice, and you will have the ability to register the child for school. The one caveat is children in foster care cannot be homeschooled. It's perfectly acceptable for you to homeschool your own children, but foster children cannot be homeschooled. And finally, as far as daycare, as I mentioned, you choose from a list of providers, and we will assist you with that. My spouse doesn't want to foster. Can I do it alone? The answer to that is no. Both parents must be trained and licensed. Each are going to play an active part. We know that the motivation level and the enthusiasm may not be the same, and that's okay. We're just asking that both play a part in it, both get trained and play a part in the licensing. Additionally, just check in with your children and see how they feel about fostering and try to address any questions that they may have. Just like you, this is an unknown, and they may have some concerns as well. So bring them along on the process and include them in the conversation. Will I interact with a child's parent? So as we mentioned before, we're really working towards reunifying this child back to their family. Most times there is a court-ordered visit, which is typically once a week for an hour with the parents. The visits can occur in our office. We have playrooms there, or they can occur out in the community. There are parks and other public places that work well for that. But at no time are you required, or even it's not even suggested that you do a visit in your home. We definitely want you to feel a sense of safety and security, and at no time would we wish that you feel insecure about these visits. There are times where supervised visits are ordered, and that can occur also in our office by a staff member. So really, it will be an interaction, and that's up to you how much interaction you'd like to have otherwise. Can the child come on a vacation with us? So we mentioned that we wanted you to include them as your family member. So as a family member, it would be wonderful if they could go along. We ask you to notify the case manager. It definitely may affect some visitation, so we would want to let the parents know as well. And generally, all family vacations can be approved by the judge or by parents if it's out of state. So definitely consider taking these children on family vacations as well. If that's not possible for you, we do have respite care with other foster parents where you can leave the child while you take your vacation. Can a child attend a religious service? So yes, generally it's not a problem, and generally children go with their foster families to any of their services. However, if a child's parent does not wish for their child to attend services, we ask that you would find appropriate childcare or other activities during that time. Generally, this is not a problem, and it's often something that people welcome, but there is that one-off chance that that may not be something the parents wish for. So those were some of the basic questions for you, and you may be wondering what next steps are. So if you're over there on the left and you're not quite ready to pursue fostering or take the next steps, you still have some questions, need some additional assistance, maybe you have some questions about background or something like that, definitely reach out to us. I've got our phone number here and our email address and even our website. Definitely reach out to us and we'll be happy to help you. This is a very user-friendly process, at least we'd like it to be, where you can get the questions you have answered. So if you're not ready to move forward, reach out to us. If you are ready to move forward and take the next steps, we'll take a look at what those are. So Path to Foster Parenting, step 1, this is the orientation and you've completed this today. And thank you for hanging with me for the last 30 minutes on this one. So we're almost done here. The next step you would take is to complete a profile packet. So you can access that paperwork by visiting the website that I have listed in the comments section below. So that should be right below there. There's going to be a web link for you. I'd like you to click on that. You can access the documents. You can choose to print those out and handwrite them in and mail them in to us, or you can fill that document out right from your computer and online submit that to us. So definitely go ahead and follow that link that's in the comment section below. The next step after you complete that profile packet would be you would submit that to us and we'd take a look at it and invite you to the training if we don't see any limitations to you fostering. The training classes are offered in 2 ways. So they're offered on 1 weeknight per week for 8 hours, for 3 hours for 8 weeks, or we offer them on Saturdays for 4 weeks, and that's 6 hours. Typically from about 10 to 4 in the afternoon are the hours for Saturdays. Finally, you will go through the licensing process, which is working with a staff member called a licensing specialist who helps you collect your documents, complete your background screenings, and comes to your home and does a home assessment. This is not a scary process here with this licensing. This is not somebody judging you or looking at your home with too critical of an eye. Like I mentioned before, we are interested in having space for the child. We're interested in your motivations to foster, in your abilities. We want to help you find your strengths and your weaknesses and see what best would be the best placements for you in your home. As far as documents that we're looking for at this time, it would be things like your insurance cards, your rabies shots for your pets, things like that. So nothing too in-depth. And that is the final step as far as foster parenting. Once your license is approved by DCF, which is the Department of Children and Families, you will be open to accept your first placement. So those are the steps to fostering. So right now I'm going to close and thank you again so much for taking the time to listen to what we had to say here. We hope that this is something you will consider strongly and know that there's a definite need in our community. Please reach out to us if you have any questions. We'd love to be of assistance to you.